Ubisoft do have some splaining to do. So Ubisoft caught 92 million euro privacy fine over forced online secret data collection. Dirty business, Ubisoft, very dirty business. Ubisoft just can't catch a break, and for good reason. This time, it's not terrible game sales or some sort of woke controversy dragging them into the mud. Nah, instead, it's the powerful European privacy group, NOIB. None of your business. They have officially filed a legal complaint against the Assassin's Creed and Far Cry publisher, accusing Ubisoft of breaching general data protection regulations, and secretly harvesting player data during single-player sessions. At the heart of the storm was a lone Far Cry Primal player who dared to ask Ubisoft what data they were collecting. The response opened up quite the can of worms. Ubisoft admitted to the basics, like game launch times and session lengths, but a deeper investigation revealed far more alarming behavior going on under the hood. The game made 150 server connections within just 10 minutes. 10 minutes! Can you bloody believe it? Even though it was supposedly just a single-player offline experience, the NOIB calls this secret data collection, a direct violation of GDPR's requirement that all data collection must be necessary and transparent. Oof! Ubisoft, big oof, the largest, the biggest of oofs. I've seen a lot of oofs, and I've never seen quite an oof in my life. My son, Baron, loves to go with a good oof, and even he has never seen this one quite as large. He looked at me and said, "Dad, I've never seen quite a big oof." It gets worse, though. Ubisoft claimed the constant online checks were to verify ownership. Yet the game had already been purchased and verified through Steam, so the NOIB is arguing Ubisoft's insistence on players logging into Ubisoft Connect was unnecessary, a sneaky excuse to harvest more user data under the guise of DRM. And Ubisoft knew exactly what they were doing. Now I gotta go do this. Background. Bomb. 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 But wait! There's more! And here's the kicker. Ubisoft tried to protect themselves by stuffing all of this tracking into its massive end user license agreement, or EULA. Great unit, by the way. The Spindrift Knight. Well, now I have her theme song in my head from her demo. EULA is a character in Genshin Impact. And privacy policy that no one ever really reads. But now the NOIB is challenging whether agreeing that the EULA, just to play a single-player game, should ever legally allow Ubisoft to siphon off personal data without explicit informed consent, as GDPR demands. Like to play it alone, Ubisoft is still watching you. If found guilty, Ubisoft could face a massive fine of upwards to 92 million euros, roughly about 4% of its 2.3 billion euro annual turnover. This is on top of the already sinking ship that is Ubisoft property. NOIB isn't just asking for a slap on the wrist either. They're demanding sweeping changes to Ubisoft's shady practices across all their games, noticing that millions of users worldwide have been impacted by this kind of hidden data farming. Give me all your data. No. Blast. Spoiled again. is yet another blow for Ubisoft's crumbling reputation. And even putting it like that is saying it nice. A company already hemorrhaging any remaining goodwill with gamers, investors, and now privacy watchdogs alike. From collapsing game launches to completely tone deaf marketing, consultants, and now potential GDPR violations, Ubisoft's slow motion implosion is lasting longer than the Springfield tire fire. A good Simpsons reference when I can. I mean, at least it's not a JoJo reference. At this point, you have to wonder what's left of Ubisoft to salvage. Will Ubisoft be able to overcome this new threat? Will people begin to trust them once again? Will they finally put out a good game after failing for years? Find out on the next exciting episode of Dragon Ball Z. There's really no end to the BS, is it? Yeah, it's one thing after another with this company. And again, it's a shame because Ubisoft, back in the day, like 20 years ago, this was a titan in the gaming industry. When you thought of powerful, amazing companies, Ubisoft was one of them. They were a titan in the gaming industry. Now look at them. Same thing with like EA. Huge name. Blizzard, Activision. Same thing. Bethesda. Same thing. These were all masters of their craft. These gods among gaming industry. But now look at them. They're shells of what they used to be. Shady business practices, insistent insertion of DEI when it's clearly causing their games to fail, coming out and attacking fans and gamers and this and that. These once great companies are just collapsing. And again, Ubisoft was a titan of the industry. And it is a shame. It genuinely is a shame to see a company once revered like Ubisoft now being just a broken, hollow shell of what it was. It's like, it's like having a family member and they're getting older and they used to be so young or younger and lively, and you remember, oh yeah, I remember when my grandma would come over, we would do this and that. And then, they get older and suddenly they're just broken. They can't remember who you are. They're just shells now of what they were because they've gotten so old and forgotten things. They don't have the energy anymore. And, and it hurts. It hurts seeing someone you love and care about break down like that. And for gamers who grew up in that time, the 90s, early 2000s, seeing a game company like Ubisoft break down the way it is troubling because we don't want it to disappear, because we do have fond memories of the company and we do want it to just push through and overcome whatever it is. But with the management that they have, with the game direction that they've been taking, it's like an animal, in the woods or whatever. It's like a mercy killing at some point. It's like you want them to stick around and you're trying to do what you can to help, but at some point you just got to put them down, and see it as a mercy killing because you don't want them to suffer anymore. And it would be a shame for Ubisoft to go out of business. It really would. But at this point, it doesn't seem like they want to do anything that will actually benefit them. Instead, it's just one bad decision after another, after another, after another, after another, and it's just never ending. For the past several years, it's been like this. And the fans are trying to tell these people how to save themselves and how to make money, but then you have the people online like, oh, you're just a bunch of gooners, incels, basement dwellers, and the homophobes, this and isms. And then Ubisoft listens to them rather than people who are giving the criticism that will actually help. So Ubisoft is doing this to themselves. The people who claim to care about the company, you're doing it because you're allowing these companies to continue what they're doing, which forces them to lay people off, which forces them to close down studios. All the while, the people who actually do care are still called phobes, isms, far right, extremists, Nazis, this and that. You know, and at some point, it's like we should just see this as a mercy killing. You know, clearly they don't want to be saved. They're suffering. They don't want to be saved at this point, and we should see this as like a mercy killing. You know, and we're just doing what we can to just end their misery and put them down for good. You know, we don't want it. We really don't. But at this point, what choice is there? They clearly don't want to be saved. And the people who claim to care about them don't want them to be saved either. Because constantly coming out and attacking the fans, that's not the way to save a company you apparently love. To save it, you're going to say the things that may hurt people's feelings. You are going to say the things that people are not going to agree with. You're going to point out the business practices that are driving people away from just gamers or even investors. That is what you do when you want something to be saved. You do the hard part. You say the things that don't want to be heard. But those people aren't doing that. They're just, oh, you're just a bunch of phobes, it's isms, you gooner, incel, basement dweller, chud. So, again, this is just another thing. Consider this like just another for a mercy killing. It's just one thing after another, and we're just, I don't know. The next thing will be right between the eyes. Maybe it'll put them out of their misery for good. I don't know. But the way they keep going, they can't keep going on like this, obviously. No one can keep going on like this. And again, it's a shame. It really is a shame. I loved Ubisoft back in the day. Again, think of the games that they came out with. Now look at them. But the people who claim to care don't actually care because they're the ones allowing good people to be laid off, allowing studios to close by just constantly defending this mediocre crap that they're doing or any other practice that they're doing, rather than calling them out and saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, that is ruining their business. Maybe we should say something. No, instead it's just, oh, stop, leave big company alone. So you clearly don't actually care. You don't actually care. But yeah, this is a big one, especially nowadays. It's a big one. It's always an issue, but considering that people are more privy to this type of thing, you know, it's closely watched, and this sort of thing will land them in hot water. And it's gonna put a bigger dent in an already hugely dented company. So again, you have this, and the next situation that occurs might be that final between the eyes sort of deal. Do we want it? No, of course not. We don't want good people to go out of, you know, to have their jobs and their livelihoods ruined. We don't want a company that's been around for so long to go out of business. We don't want that. But at this point, the fans defending them don't want to listen. The company doesn't want to listen. We can only do so much. As some fat basement dwelling chud, I can only do so much. But anyway, that's gonna do for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.